YouTube, there's a storm coming in outside. It's like sort of windy and warm, Pineapple Express coming into Southern California. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world with the internet and sort of the rise of right-wing extremism. I looked it up before I did this video that AOL kind of started to gain traction. It had like about 4 million people, I believe, and it started like around in 1995. And I remember at that time, I got a computer, my first computer, a Hewlett Packard. It was like everything was soldered together. And I started doing web design. It was chill. The web sort of represented what life was before the internet at that time. It wasn't so divisive and so volatile like it is now. It hadn't really grown. There's been an undercurrent of right-wing extremism, but it's sort of been the minority. It's always been the minority, and the reason why is because people ultimately want to help each other out unless they absolutely can't. We want to do as much as we can for our neighbors, basically without hurting ourselves. We don't separate by individualistic ideology. I mean, most people don't. But it's not entirely true, right? When you look at the entire world, subjective particular identities, the more they lead by exclusion, the more they feel like they're part of an in-group. And so I think as the internet has grown, the leaning into exclusion has gotten worse. And maybe that's because as the internet has grown, we've had trouble maintaining our identities. And so the institutions of the past, and when I say that, the institutions of the past are the institutions of the present because history is expressed in the present. So they're not moving fast enough. We've built these up over thousands of years because this is pre-internet. All these institutions, and we use them as the foundations of civilization. Our colleges kept us knowledgeable, our governments kept law and order moving, but they did it at a certain speed, the speed of the past. And so now everything's been ratcheted up, and these physical institutions cannot survive this volatile, what's effectively universal communication. And the internet is the expression of a chaotic universal that's not going anywhere. The genie's out of the bottle and it can't go back in. So it's like we had to deal with it. So there's kind of two ways to deal with it at this point. The first one is to adapt institutions to the volatility of the internet. And so that's going to be, a balance of regulation and also eliminating bureaucracy, I would think. Not eliminating it in such a way that you destroy what the institutions did in the first place, which is kind of what all individualists want. They just want to destroy all institutions. And I think they don't realize that all of a sudden, them and their families are going to be in chaotic situations that they have no control over. I don't know why they don't think about this more. Do you want to destroy institutions in a belligerent, drunk manner in which you end up in trouble and your family gets hurt? Because you can't just throw your hands up and say, whoops, when your family's being shot by people from the next town who don't like, the fact that you're using some of their water or you've got things that they want, whatever. Do you want to be in that situation? Are you only going to realize how wrong you were when your family's sitting there tied up on the floor under a bunch of rifle barrels? I mean, the time to realize it is right now when it can be prevented and we can all live by social contract rather than mutually assured destruction. And this is, sort of like the second part of what I wanted to talk about is the balance. Do we want to choose mutually assured destruction when we can choose social contract? Now, I think reality is complex, and for the most part, both sides have to be balanced at the same time. We're always going to end up in mad situations, and we're always we're going to have social contracts. That's just the way it's always going to go. And by the way, it doesn't always have to be about money. In fact, in a post-scarcity era, although I'll be honest with you, automation and AI is looking more like a gimmick than ever. But it's not so much language models that are going to come in and create a post-scarcity era. It's robotics. Automation is going to come in and eliminate all kinds of jobs. Do we really want to have all our social contracts be about transactions when in the future there's not even going to be that kind of value, or value is going to be totally different than it's been over the past, of all our recorded history up to this point. So we have to start anew. Like philosophy, all these philosophies that are out there right now are all based on scarcity value. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out alternatives to the scarcity kind of drive that capitalism insists upon. And it's really difficult to do, and it's determined. Currency is determined. Power consolidation is something that's determined. As long as we're separate agents and we can consolidate time and power, there's gonna become incongruencies, and the people with the most power are gonna control those below. There's nothing you can do, and currency is a determined emergence, a determined technology. Like, humans didn't create it, we discovered it. It was going to happen in any way. And so is AI, and so is the internet. All this stuff was going to happen no matter what. As long as we emerged as single agents, each one of us can be counted as one. We can take the life of another, the other can take the life of us. We've learned how to measure and manipulate reality. As long as these things sort of went along this path, there was always going to be a Bill Gates or somebody. There was always going to be, people who invented those things. Just because Bill Gates did it, it doesn't mean that without Bill Gates, all of a sudden there'd be no computers. Somebody was going to do that. It was determined. The internet was determined. And it was determined to blow us out with a fire hose of information. And it just so happens that the right wing has this sort of format that's going to work a lot better when we're blasted in the face with information. It's serving them, because all they have to do is repeat the same things over and over, and they're exclusive and they push exclusion. And so this appeals to the animal brain, which doesn't take any education to understand. It feels good instantly, the body's rewarded, which tells me if the internet is determined, if this fire hose in the face of information happens to all societies, if deterministically the right wing has a format that's already set up to conquer this kind of situation and appeal to the animal side of things, it tells me that reality and life, all of it was determined to come to this situation. It's almost an insurmountable hurdle. Or it might be the situation where wherever the species is on its trajectory in history, when the internet hits, it expresses that, that mode of wherever you are. And we just happen to be at peak, not really peak capitalism, more like the decline of capitalism, but we happen to be at peak selfishness and individuality, which is going to lead to peak war and destruction until it balances itself out again. And that destruction, World War IV, will be fought with sticks and stones. That destruction could very well leave us in these post-apocalyptic scenarios. And so, just to wrap the video up really quick, what can we do? And my whole channel is basically about what we can do. That's the reason why I started this channel, is to focus on universality, focus on human necessity, teach everyone you can about the fact that we need to be including by what humans need and excluding only those who exclude by frivolousness or unnecessary particulars. If people are out there dividing humans up by identity subgroups, they've missed the point and they're adding to the problem, okay? Religion, class, nationalism. If there are people are out there and they're dividing by these, they're suppressing human universality and human necessity based on these. These people are wrong, and they're committing the ultimate crime, the ultimate sin against humanity, which is subverting universality. And we need to get that out there, and we need to sell that, because it's one of the things that's going to save us from this internet onslaught. And hopefully we'll be able to rally around universality to head off the oligarchy. And the problem is, some people have too much money and they don't care about life. They care about themselves only. And so we can't just pretend like it's going to be all good, because sometimes we get captured and maybe the only thing that frees us is a natural disaster, right? That screws up the order. And so we can't be in that situation. And one of the ways we can be prepared is just to understand universality, so that the people that are doing the right thing have something to stand on and to enforce justice against. That's an obvious thing. I mean, it's out there. It's what the United Nations does. It's what the West does in good governance, creating equality among individuals. Everything at the ground level should be consensual. No one should be doing anything against somebody else without their consent. That's basically it. Live in your own space, and if you interact with other people, make sure there's consent. That's it. I mean, that's all we have to do. And the problem is that some people just don't think other people are human beings, and those people are wrong, and they become less than human themselves by thinking that way. And it's the only way that you can become less than human in a human sense is to think that other humans are less than human. So remember, we have to exclude those that exclude, and that's the only just exclusion. If you guys like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.